everyone. In this video lecture, I'm going to be talking about web authoring, and I'm going to be looking at HTML. So this is for GCE advanced level ICT students, and actually web authoring is part of your syllabus as it concerns practicals. And so in some minutes I'm going to explain HTML. Now, if you've done internet, which is theory, you would have surely come across websites. You would have surely come across URL. Now, what do we actually do on the internet? There are actually many things we do on the internet, and one of them is actually web surfing, meaning browsing the internet, as most of you call it. You browse. I don't mean not necessarily WhatsApp, Facebook. I mean browsing, like for example, when you type a keyword or something you want to search on Google, what happens? Google searches it and presents you search results from various websites. So when you open, you find information on that website, and the information is what you read, and it helps you. For example, most of you have surely come across Wikipedia. So Wikipedia is an example of website. I work with Kaolo, and Kaolo owns gcrevision.com, or also known as CameroonGCrevision.com website. So it is a website. Most of you have come across a website and you've gotten resources that have actually helped you in your notes and getting past questions, right? So on the internet we have websites. Now, web authoring is actually this aspect, this act, or let me say this art of building the website that you find on the internet. And so at the advanced level, you're taught just the basics. I think at the advanced level you do just HTML and CSS, but it doesn't limit itself there. Coming back to our technology nowadays, web authoring is a very important and useful tool, and also some people have taken it up as a career, building websites. There are many ways to build a website, and there are many programming languages that actually helps you build a website, depending on the complexity, or depending on the type of website, or depending on what you want the website to actually do or accomplish. And so at the advanced level, we simply start with HTML and CSS. Now, the building block of every website is HTML and CSS. For example, Wikipedia is a website, and a website is simply bringing together multimedia, or let me say a bringing together of text, because a website surely contains what? Text, surely contains pictures. Of course, when you open websites, you see images. Some contain videos, some contain text, some contain you see tables, and you see other things. Now, a website is simply a combination of several web pages. Let me give you an instance. If you open gcrevision.com, you're going to find at the menu, it's written there that ordinary level, it's written there that advanced level, it's written there that Zambia, if I'm not mistaken. Now, when you click on each, you are taken to a page. On some websites, you are going to find pages for home, about, meaning when you click on that link, it takes you to the about page, a page that tells you about the website. Some you see a page there called contact. When you click on that, on the contacts found on the menu, it takes you to the page where you can contact the owner. So a website is a combination of web pages. So all the things you find on the website, there are pages. For example, the about page, the home page, the notification page, the contact us page, the library page, the shop, and all that. These are individual pages that come up together to form the website. Is it understood? Okay. So during your practicals, you might be asked to create 1 or 2 web pages, or 2 or more web pages. You might be asked to create several web pages and link them together, forming a website. Now let's talk about addresses. Whenever you build your website on your computer, or called your local machine, now it only ends at the level of your computer, right? It ends at the level, because if I code something now, it's going to end only at the level of my computer. Only me sees it, except I share the files with someone else. But now for your website to actually go viral, like the ones you see when you are surfing the internet, you actually need to do what they call hosting. And to host a site, you need a domain name. I'm just refreshing your memories on what you did on the internet. Now for you to host a website, you need to host it on a domain name. Now the domain name is actually the address of the website, also called the URL, Uniform Resource Locator. Most often they would ask you, give us a full meaning of URL. What is a domain name? The first page you find on a website is called the home page. These are common questions being asked during the GCE. So an example of a domain, like I said, a domain name is actually the address of your website. So an example of a domain name is actually, for example, CameroonGCErevision.com is a domain name. Wikipedia.org is a domain name. So you might be asked during the GCE, give an example of a domain name. Okay, now coming back to what I was saying, building a website could vary with different languages, but at your level you're being taught just HTML and CSS. But if you go advanced, like for those who want to do it at the university, you would get deeper into it. You will get deeper. Maybe for some of you want to finish your advanced level and further your studies with computer science, or software engineering, you would actually see it in a deeper view. And of course, we have actually opted to actually help out some students who actually want to get into this field by training them, probably during holidays. So like I was saying, when you get deeper, probably at the university, you would see other languages, or you would see other elements or utilities used to build websites. For example, you would talk about JavaScript, you can talk about Java, you can talk about Perl, you can talk about Python, and so on and so forth. You can talk about PHP, you can talk about Node.js. Okay, coming back to your level, HTML is one of the most important, in fact it is one of the most important building blocks when developing web pages or when building web pages. HTML is like the skeleton of building a web page. HTML is like the skeleton. Now CSS is like the flesh. CSS actually styles the web page. So you might be asked during paper 1, what is the role of CSS in web authoring? Or what is the role of CSS in building web pages? Take note, CSS has a role to style, to add some style. For example, you can have a web page that simply contains, just kind of text, contains just text. Now when CSS comes into the HTML code, CSS actually adds some color to the text. CSS will actually underline, CSS will actually beautify the table, add some nice colors and fix some things. So that's the role of CSS. But in this video we are going to be looking at HTML, which is a skeleton and the most important building block. Most of the websites you see out there or you see on the internet actually started with HTML. So knowing HTML is a starting point as a web developer. Of course, those who build websites are called web developers. So building websites is actually a starting point. Knowing HTML. Now HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML stands for, let me zoom so that some of you can see better. So we are talking about HTML, and HTML stands for, we said, hypertext markup, or it could be put this way, language. Hypertext markup language. And please, I would want to emphasize that HTML is not a programming language. Most often during paper 1 you will see questions like, give us examples of programming languages. Don't mark HTML. It is not a programming language. As you can see, it is a markup language, as you can see from the full meaning. And also during paper 2 you can be asked, what is the full meaning of HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Now this is a language that actually, it's called hypertext markup. Now HTML actually sets or actually determines how the content of a website is being placed. Take note, HTML actually describes how the content of a web page is being placed. Please don't misunderstand me when I interuse website and web page. So HTML actually sets how a content is being structured on a web page. Let me give you an example. Let me see. Okay, now this is a good example. Now this is a web page. Most of you know this site. Now HTML actually structures how the content should be placed, actually figures out the structure. For example, as you can see, we have HTML written at this area, at this section. You can see HTML is written here. As you can see, this example is written on the right now, and this menu is written at the left now, and this is written at the top. This is written at the top right. Then here we have a title here. So HTML is actually responsible for structuring this out, how they are placed. You can see there is a bar, a kind of bar here in green color. You can see at the bottom we have something here. We have an image here. We have a button here. So you can see this is the role of HTML. HTML actually structures the content on the web page. That is why we said it is a skeleton for building web pages. The skeleton for building web pages, while CSS comes in to bring in the style. Is it understood? So that when we begin coding, it will be easy for you to understand. And so talking about CSS stands for, though we are not going to talk about it now. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. Now, what do we actually need to start building a web page? What do you need? For example, we know that when we want to work our farm, we need a cutlass, we need a hoe, we need seed. Now, in building a web page, what do we need? Number one, you need a browser. You need a browser. Number two, you need a text editor. A text editor. Now, IDE. Now, some people, I don't know if you've ever heard about the word IDE. IDE stands for, if I'm not mistaken, Integrated Development Environment. Now, I'm just giving you this as probably the acronym, but at your level, let's just leave it at text editor. So you need a browser and a text editor. Now, let me ask you a question. Did you realize that I opened this web page in a browser? I opened it in a browser. So the role of the browser is actually to do what? Is actually to see the output. The role of a browser is actually to see the output, to see the product of what you are coding. For those who have done programming before, think about a browser like a kind of compiler. Now, the browser is what actually interprets the HTML that you are writing and then presents it on a web page. Because one, you view your web page where? In a browser. Take note, you view your web page in a browser, not in a text editor or not somewhere else. And so a browser is where you actually see the product, the outcome of what you are writing, of the HTML you are, manipulating. So the web page is actually viewed in a browser. Take note, the web page is viewed in a browser. Now, you might go to win practicals and you are given an HTML exercise. You might be asked, what is the role of a browser? Number two, what is a browser? Take note of that definition. Take note of that question. Now, secondly, you need a text editor. Talking about browsers, let me give an example. We have Chrome, Google Chrome. We have Firefox. We have Opera Mini. We have Internet Explorer, and so on and so forth. Now, dear students, I want to emphasize on this. At times when they ask students example of browsers, some students will go and write Google. Take note, Google is not a browser. Google is a search engine. What you're actually trying to say is Chrome. It is better you type Chrome and leave out Google than to type Google and leave out Chrome, because you are actually saying a different thing. Google is a search engine and not a browser. So they should not ask you an example of a browser and you are putting Google. No, Google is not a browser. Google is a search engine. Actually, Google Chrome is a browser. Take note of that. Okay, so let's talk about the text editor. The text editor is actually where you are going to write your code. Text editor is where you actually write your code, where you're actually going to put your HTML and you're manipulating and you're coding and you're writing, so that you see your output as a web page. Okay, now you would ask yourself the question that how do we now build web pages? How do we build the web pages? Very important. Now, remember we're talking about HTML. Oh, I forgot giving you an example of text editor. For text editors, we have Notepad. We have Notepad plus. These are examples of text editors. But when you get advanced in programming, you would see some cons about these text editors, and you would surely search out for things like VS Code. We have like more like Atom and so on and so forth. But now at your level, it is required to use Notepad or Notepad plus. Now, how do we build these web pages? Remember, we were saying that HTML is actually a very important tool and a building block. Now, HTML, remember we said it is a markup language, hypertext markup language. Now, HTML is actually made up of, now the reason why it is called markup language is because it is made up of tags. If you are not taught, you will not understand what it means. Now, it is made up of tags. Tags, when I talk about tags, I mean, let me write them back. When I talk about tags, I mean TAGS. It is made up of tags. Now, these tags are what are the things we write that the browser actually interprets to actually form web pages. This is what I'm trying to say. When you, if you look at the code that actually makes up Wikipedia or gcrevision.com, you would see HTML tags. You would see HTML tags. Now, before that, I want you to know that the code that actually forms a website, or how should I put it? If you succeed seeing actually the combination of codes that form a website, actually it's called the source code. I didn't want to use that term at the beginning, so I can now use it since I've explained it already. It's called the source code. Now, HTML is made up of tags. Now, these tags are like languages which, if I don't explain, you may not be able to understand, because it is teachable. You have to learn before you can understand. Now, these tags are actually interpreted by the browser to form a web page, to form the beautiful things that you see on the web page. So this is what I'm saying. The browser doesn't display the HTML tags. Rather, the browser interprets the tags that you write in your text editor, and then it now displays what you are saying. So these tags are what are the things responsible for structuring the content on the web page. Do you get the point? The tags are actually the things responsible for structure. Remember, I said the HTML does what structures content on the web page, and I said example could be text, it could be images, it could be tables, it could be lists, it could be videos, and so on and so forth. So these tags are actually responsible for structuring them out. Now, another name for these tags are elements. So in some, if you watch other videos, for example White, they call them elements. Good. Now we are now going to look at these tags. What are these tags I'm talking about? That actually figures out how the contents of the website are being structured, how the skeleton of the website begins. Now, each tag has its own meaning. each tag has its own interpretation. That is why you will write out in a text editor and then the browser will interpret them. So the browser doesn't actually display the tag itself, the browser displays the interpretation of the tags. So these tags are like languages, where that tells the browser to do something. Let us see them now. So actually this is my text editor. Here I'm using Notepad++. Now let me give you an example of an HTML template. We have HTML head, title, head, let me zoom. Perfect. Now this is an example of tags and of a simple web page that I am building, that I have written. Now as you can see, these are what I call tags. Each tag has a meaning which the browser interprets and structures the content according to how the tag, that's by interpreting the tag. So this is how you start writing HTML. Now to begin creating a web page, when you are in your text editor, you must begin with the word HTML. Remember I said all these tags have meaning. You must begin with the tag HTML. Now the tag HTML simply tells the browser that what, Mr. Browser, I am actually starting my HTML document, my HTML file. That's what it means. I am starting my HTML file. And so for some of you, if this is your first time seeing this, it's not actually difficult. I just put the greater than, the less than, and the greater than sign, and then I put my tag in the middle, my text in the middle. So all this forms a tag. So when you begin this way with HTML, you are telling the browser that Mr. Browser, or Chrome, maybe what you are using, you're saying, Mr. Browser, I am starting an HTML document. So when the browser looks in your file and sees in your code and sees HTML, the browser knows that what, okay, this is an HTML document, and so I should treat it as a web page. Do you get it? I should treat it as a web page. So now this is now how you start your HTML document. Where HTML, let me say quotes. Now, did you notice that I have HTML here twice, here and here? Okay. Now, do you know in life we have rules and regulations. In life we have patterns to follow. For example, For you to succeed, you must read. If you don't read, you cannot succeed. It is clear. Whether you are a Christian or you are a pagan, whether you go to church or you don't go to church, if you don't read, you will not pass, because God himself blesses your hard work. So this is a principle, this is a rule. So equally in HTML, we have a rule set for it to work. And I want to call your attention that HTML is conventional. Meaning this has not been said by me nor by your teacher in school. No, it is conventional. Meaning if a Chinese man sees this, he will understand. If an ICT student from Canada looks at this, he will understand the meaning. Now, one important rule in HTML is that what? The tags are in pairs. Most HTML tags are in pairs. When we say pair in English, it means two. And in HTML, we have the opening and the closing tag. So the opening tag is written like this, and the closing tag is written like this. Now, as you can see here, the opening here means we are starting our HTML document, and the closing means that what? We are ending our HTML document. As you can understand the meaning of the word close. Now, next we have the head. When you write this tag, you are telling your browser that what? This is the head of my HTML document. This is the head of my web page. Take note, because our end product is a web page. So you are telling the browser that what? Okay, Mr. Browser, this is a web page. This is the head of my web page. Now, and we have the closing here, which also shows that when you've already put what you want to put at the head of your web page, what do? You close. Because if you don't close, everything will be considered as head. So you see the importance of the closing tag, and you see the importance of the opening tag. Next, at the level of the head, what do we have? We have the title. As you can see, it's written there clearly. Title. We have the opening tag and the closing tag. Now take note of what differentiates the closing tag from the opening tag. What is it? It is this slash. This particular slash. Let me put it again. That is it. That is what distinguishes the closing tag from the opening tag. Take note, students. There are times that they bring even HTML in paper 1, web authoring in paper 1, paper 2 at times too it comes, paper 3 at times it comes. So no one knows. That's why I am briefing you, not only for practicals, but equally touching some things that may come during theory. And even in practicals, you might actually have some theory under. For example, they might bring you a web page to reproduce during your practicals, and then at the end they start asking you, what is a browser? Differentiate a closing tag from an opening tag, things as such. Now we have the title. Take note, whatever you put in between tags is what you are telling the browser to display. Have you understood? Whatever you put in between a tag is what you're actually telling the browser to display. This is what this line means. Now this line actually means that Kaolo will be the title of your web page. So when you've opened your title tag and you put Kaolo and you've closed your title tag, you are simply telling the browser that what? Remember we said HTML is used to do what? To structure. Therefore you are telling your browser that, Mr. Browser, I want you to put Kaolo as the title of my web page. Now let me show you where titles are always displayed on a web page. Maybe some of you see them for your first time. Now look at this. Are you seeing this? This, where my pointer is. I hope you can see my pointer moving. This is it. Where this my pointer is, this is the title of this web page I just opened now. W3 Schools Online Web Tutorials. This is the title. I hope you can see this is a title. Let me open a different web page and show you something. Look at this. Look at this web page. Look at this. The title of this web page is Excellent Guide Series. So I hope you see where the title is displayed. Meaning when we are going to open our web page, we are expected to see Kaolo at the title of our web page. You know, this is called the bar. The tab. This is called the tab. So you might have many tabs. So as you can see, new tab. This is called a tab. Okay. Then, so this is the title. Now after that, you see we have closed the head. Now next, so take note that the head actually takes care of what appears here, which is obviously the title. Next, we have opened the body. Now under the body, anything you put under the body tag will appear at the body of your web page. Now let me show you where the body of a web page is. Now you see this area here is a body. You know, all this area where all, you know, this is the body where you find this content is a body. You see, this is the body. So anything you put under the body tag will actually appear here. As you can see, it will appear here at this body. Okay, so now the body tag is responsible for that. Take note, if you don't put the body, you'll be shocked, you'll be wrong. So these tags are very important. Take note of their roles. Now when you are done putting the body, you close the body. Take note, it also has a closing tag, and then you close HTML, which is the end of your document. Now let me talk about what you see in the body. Now remember, I showed you the body of the document. Now it shows that anything you put under this body tag will actually appear at the body of your web page. Now at the body of the web page, look at this. I have put a text there called hello world, and then that text is in between a P tag. P, as you can see, the P opening and closing tag. Now the P tag actually stands for what? Paragraph. That P there represents paragraph. So if you have understood this, then you perfectly understand how web pages are being built. So anything you want to see, for example, if you open the source code of this website now, all these things you are seeing here, you will see them under the body tag, right? You see them under the body tag. Then now you might be wondering then that what will you put under the body? Okay, now I want to make you understand that there are many tags. Now what you will put at the level of the body will depend on what you want to display on your web page. Do you understand? Will depend on what you want to display on your web page is what you put on the body. For example, this will display a paragraph because hello world has been put between the P tag, which signifies paragraph. Is that okay? Then if I want to put something else like an image, I'm going to use the image tag. So you actually realize anything you want to accomplish on your web page or display at the body of your web page, you must actually use what? Its tag or its element. So to achieve a paragraph, what did I do? I added a paragraph. So I'm still coming back to the statement I made that HTML actually structures the content on your web page. Now look at this. Hello world will not be displayed anywhere. Hello world will be what? Structured. HTML tells the browser where to put this hello world. Now this tag tells the browser that what, Mr. Browser, I want you to put this statement like this in a paragraph. So now do you get now the role of HTML? Do you get it? So if you've understood all this, then be rest assured that during practicals you would cope. And this is one of the easiest topics in GCE advanced level ICT practicals, that if it comes, just grab all the marks. I mean all, no excuse, all, because it is quite simple. Next, let me show you how you can see the output of this. Take note, all the things you have written here, they are called tags or elements. Number one. Now, it doesn't mean that the browser will actually display this. No, the browser actually interprets. Remember, what you've written here is like a language. Now the browser will interpret. When the browser sees this document, the browser, once the browser sees HTML, the browser knows that, okay, this is an HTML file. Tag, yes. Once the browser sees P and he sees P, the browser knows that I need to display this in a paragraph. Now let us run this. Now to run this, number one, you must save. Those who did Microsoft Word in secondary school, what were you told? For you, the first time you are saving a document, you use save as. The second time you can now save. Well, with some softwares, the first time you are, even if you use save, no problem, it will still lead you to save as. Now take note, in paper 2 you did what they call file extensions. Now an HTML file has the extension .html. Now take note of this, paper 2 and paper 1. What is a file extension? Give an example of a file extension. Paper 1, what is a file extension of an HTML file? Take note, it is .html or .htm. Now most often you see file extensions behind. Now file extensions are like the last letters you find after, at the end of a file name, after the dot. For example, for an HTML file is .html or .htm. Most of you know for a Microsoft Word file it is .doc or .doc kind of. For an MP3, an audio file, what do you see? .mp3, .mp4 for videos, .png for what? For images. Is that okay? Now I'm going to save this. I click on file and then I click on save as. As you can see, that this is a shortcut, save as. When I click on save as, a little window will appear. Now this window is actually asking me, where do I want to save my document? Where do I want to save it? You can select the drive, either on C or on E. So where do I save it? Now I'm going to save it in the file. I'm going to save it in drive C, and then I'm going to save it in the folder coding tutorials. So excuse me, I double click the folder, it opens. Now when you've already moved to the location, please make sure you remember the location of your file. Students mess up during the GCE. Why? Because they saved their file and they don't even know, they did not take note where they saved it. And when the examiner comes, or the person in charge comes to collect your work, he doesn't find it and you start crying. Take note. Once I have selected the location, remember in my location I have another folder, but I have not selected this folder. I have saved it in coding tutorials folder. What do you do the next? The next thing you do is what? The file name. So my file name is going to be index. You can use any, you can use index, you can use my web page, or during GCE they can say use your name, or during GCE they can give you a particular name to use. So it may not be your name because it might disclose your identity. You take note, you input your file name. So at this step, please don't rush, else you would work and you will pass in vain. Take note of where you are saving the file, and take note of your file name. My file name is index. Good. After that, what do you see? You see save as type. So I'm already done with file name. Next, save as type. Now take note, this is where you come and set the extension of your file. Take note guys, This is where you come and set the extension of your file. Now I said the extension for an HTML file is .html or .htm. It still works. Save as type. You can see what's written here now. Here you have .txt. Take note, it is not .txt. .txt is an extension for a text file. Take note, if you save your file as a .txt extension, when you open it in a browser, the browser will show you your tags. The browser will not show you your web page. It will rather show you the tags that you wrote in your text editor. Is that understood? Now, save as type. Under the save as type, I click on it, and we have many extensions here. You can see we have assembly, we have C++, we have CoffeeScript, we have Batch, you have C, you have Fortran, and so on. You have Haskell. Now I need to look for HTML. Take note. So I can type H on my keyboard. If I type H on my keyboard, I'm going to go under H, and when I go to H, I have Haskell, which is not it. Now you have, as you can see, hypertext markup language file. So we have .html here, .htm, .ss. Now the most important, it should be, your extension should be what? Under hypertext markup language file. Now when you click it. For those who cannot type on the keyboard, you can just scroll. If you scroll, you go to H. Where's H? This is H. I click on it. When I click on it, I can see a hypertext markup language file, and I can see the name of my file. Now what next? You press save. Now for those using Notepad, well, saving can be different, because it seems you might need to set up your, I don't remember the last time I used Notepad actually, but then if I can remember well, you need to set up you need to click as all files, and then you type .html at the end of your file name. Type it by yourself. But for those using Notepad++, this is the case. Now after that, what do? You click save. When you click save, then your file, your document has been saved. Remember that directory. Now let us go there and search for it. It was on disk E. At this E, I move to coding tutorials. Take note, coding tutorials. When I click on coding tutorials, I can see my file here, index. Take note, index. Now I double click index. It's going to open, and what do you see? Wow, let me zoom. This is your web page. Remember, we did not write much, and so you cannot expect much at the body. Remember, at the body of our code, we just put there hello world. And so take note of this. Did the browser actually respect what you put here? We told the browser that what? Browser, display hello world in a paragraph, right? Now this is it in a paragraph. Can you see that? It's in a paragraph. Now we also told the browser that, Mr. Browser, we want Kaolo to be our title. Do you see it? This is it. Kaolo is your title. Next, I want to emphasize again on something. Now this is just the first step. Now you might want to add more content on your web page. You might want to add more content. Now most often, this is what students do. Most often students will come and close this web page. They'll come and close their text editor, and then even close the HTML. They'll come and close it. Now when you close it, make sure that you know how you can get back here. Most of the students will come and close here, close it like this. Now they cannot get back to it, because if you go to that directory, if you go to that place where you stored it, it is here as a web page. As you can see, the Chrome is the icon representing it. It is here as a web page. As you can see, it's here as a web page. So now how do you do to get back to your text editor? Because if you just come and open your text editor, it will not display. There are two ways to go around it. One, you right click on your web page, on your HTML document, and then you select edit with Notepad++. You click on it, then you're going to get back here. Or for those who just want to open their Notepad++ immediately, you can still open your text editor, and then you click on file, you click on open. When you click on open, you go to that place where you saved it. This is it here, and then you click on index. It's going to open. Now when it opens, you can see the name of your file here. This is it. Okay, now there are times you will see students actually opening this web page many times. This is what I'm saying. Whenever a student makes a modification, for example, I can change, and then I'll say I can change this text, and I say welcome to HTML. Now when I say welcome to HTML, I have actually changed something. Now what do you need to do? Some students are funny. What do? Even when they update it, they are not going to save. They are going to come here, and they are trying to open the web page to see if it's going, and then soon you see them crying. Now take note, you must actually save. When you have updated, you must save. You can press Ctrl+S on your keyboard. For those who don't know shortcuts, you can still come and click on file, and then you click on save. Since I already saved, okay, or you can actually click here, save, no problem. Right now, so I've made a modification, welcome to HTML. Take note, when students will modify things like this, rather than coming, now when you modify something, you don't come again to come and open the web page again afresh. Okay, now let's look at this. Look at this. You know, at times students will just make their browsers nasty. A student will spend his life opening many web pages, you know, many web pages in the browser. You know, it can kind of confuse you, you know. Now what do you do whenever you make a modification? What do? You simply come and refresh. Remember, I still have hello world here. All I need to do is what? Refresh. Click here and you refresh. When you refresh, what do you see? You see your update. See your modification. Are we together? Okay, now remember I told you that tags are responsible for what you tags under the body are responsible for whatsoever you want to display in your on your web page. So what did we do here? Here we just put a paragraph, right? So for those who are learning HTML for the first time, paragraph is your first tag that you're seeing. I mean, not actually the first, because these ones two are tags. But now maybe paragraph is maybe it's your first time seeing paragraph. It's used to add a paragraph on our web page. Now let's assume I want to make this to appear at the center. I want to make it to be at the center. What do? I want to make this paragraph at the center. I can do this. I can add a tag responsible for center. You see, this is my opening, and then this is my closing. Now I save, Ctrl+S, and then I come and refresh. What do you see? Let me zoom. The text has been taken to the center. Good. Now let's continue. I actually want to put this in bold. I don't like the way it's like this on my web page. I don't like it. I want to put it in bold. What do? There is a tag responsible for bold, which is a B tag. B. I save. When I save, I refresh. Is it in bold? Yes. As you can see, it's in bold now. Now I am showing you this example to make you understand that tags can actually be embedded. Embedded meaning you can use several tags to modify a sentence or to modify a content. For example, only for this welcome to HTML, I've used paragraph, I've used bold. I can see this. Okay, let's say I want to underline this. I don't want it to be shabby. I just want to underline. So I'll use switch tag. The U tag is responsible for underline. So I do this U. I save, Control S, and then I refresh. What do you see? It has been underlined. Okay, next let's look at these. Okay, now let's say we want to add some content again. Oh, remember, so long as this falls under the center opening and closing tag, everything will be at the center. Now if I want to add something else but I don't want it to fall at the center, what do? I put it under the closing center tag, because the closing center tag actually ends closing, actually closes center, meaning anything that comes after it will not be at the center. And take note, anything that comes after the closing of the tag, that tag cannot actually affect it. For example, I'm going to add something here. I'm going to add a heading, H1, heading 1, and I'm going to put Kaolo, and I close it. Now take note, now this Kaolo, this H1 will not be affected by it. It's not going to be it's not going to be underlined. It's neither going to be bold. But titles always, headings always have a little bold capacity. So let me just tell you beforehand, at hand. So Kaolo will not be in bold, and it won't be at the center. Why? Because all these tags, so long as I have closed them, they don't affect it at all. So let me save. Okay, this time around, let me not use Control S to save. Let me save from here. Okay, now when I save, I refresh. Good. Now do you see Kaolo has come back at the left, and it is not underlined, and it is a heading, you know, like the way headings are always treated in your books, right? Okay, now you might be asking yourself some questions. Of course, yes, all the things you find on the web pages, they're actually added using tags. Okay, now you might be asking yourself, well, do you need to master? Of course, you're writing the GCE advanced level, so you're getting advanced. So these things are actually you need to know. Of course, there are hundreds of tags. Of course, you might not be able to master all, but there are basic tags at the level of a syllabus that you must know. You must know how to build it. And by the way, sincerely, this thing is all about practice. You can actually master these tags. It's all about practice. You can master them. For example, how did I know? I'm not checking somewhere. How did I know that B stands for bold? It's just a matter of practice. They are not actually difficult. And then you might be asking, where do I get these tags? Okay, some of you know about, I don't know if some of you have come across the Beauty Schools. It's actually online on Google. You can check that from there. It's actually there. The Beauty School, you can find tutorials on HTML, CSS, and you're going to get more of these tags. But then if they seem complicated, let me check something out. Okay, and thank you for watching. For those of you who don't know me, I am part of the team working behind Kaolo, as you can see, working behind Kaolo and gcrevision.com. In fact, all the GC Revision products, gcrevision.com products. We are just a website helping students out. So I'm part of the team by the grace of God, and we actually have a product for ICT students, advanced level ICT students. As you can see on my screen, excellent guide ICT pamphlet. Some of you must have already seen it online, so I just want to use this opportunity to tell you, if you've not yet gotten a copy, you can grab a copy. It's affordable. You know, the knowledge you gain cannot be measured. The knowledge you gain will remain forever. Grab this and have a good success in advanced level ICT. So this is it. Excellent guide ICT pamphlet. As you can see, you can get in digital copy. It's available in digital copy and in printed copy. So for digital copy, it's actually 1,000 francs only, as you can see, and it's available offline for those saying that I don't have internet all the time. Of course, Kaolo gives you availability, flexibility to access offline. So what's actually the content of this pamphlet? We have past questions, GC questions and answer, original mock, miscellaneous questions, paper 1 and 2, GC questions 2, paper 1 and 2, data storage units, computer abbreviations, paper 2 and paper 1, they always come, data storage units, they always come, terms and definitions. If you've seen ICT paper 2 questions, they are always there. They are always there. Define algorithm, define file extensions, define this and that. They are always there. They are always there. Terms and definitions. This pamphlet is made up of them, and this pamphlet is also made up of HTML tags and meaning. What I just explained, you would see more tags and you would know their meaning. And so we actually have a website, so it's available in printed and digital copy offline, and so we have a website. So for those of you with the internet, you can write down to www.book.go237.com and you're going to see our website. This book is very, very rich. The #1 ICT pamphlet. It's very rich. Are you a teacher? Are you a student? Grab a copy. Grab a copy. It will help out. I think I should briefly go through what the book contains. As you can see, okay, as you can see, let me show you the content of the book. It's actually rich, and actually this bonus is actually for students who have bought the book. There is bonus that comes for those who have bought the book. You have access to paper 3 samples. Some of you have never seen paper 3 questions, advanced level ICT. You have access to that. You have access to the ICT syllabus and to video lectures like this. Let me go through the table of content. We have, as you can see, let me take you to HTML tags and meaning. We have a list of them. You can see the div tag, the paragraph, the H1 to H6. Let me zoom this so that you see better. As you can see them, these are the tags and these are their meanings. These are the tags and these are their meanings. And so grab this copy. It is very helpful. Very, very helpful. It is very rich. For those who want to score an A grade in ICT, I recommend this for you. I recommend this. You know, an ICT on your sleep is actually very important, because the world is becoming more and more technological. Those who stand out in ICT, you have an added advantage in your career or in the university, because you cannot run away from ICT. It's always there. As you can see, this is a section for essential computer science and ICT terms and definitions. The terms, I will look at this. We have storage capacity, access time, data transmission, expert system, video conferencing, text editor, batch processing. As you can see, controls. These are definitions that they come in paper 2 unfailingly. Check out past ICT questions. They don't fail. They are always there. They are always there. Look at abbreviations as key, ADSL, AGP, NSI. They are always there. They are always there, guys. For those who don't even know how GC questions look like, this is GC ICT paper 2. This is 2010. You can see how it looks. ICT, we have 9 questions. 2011. I encourage everyone, grab this copy. Get this copy either in digital copy, which is 1,000 francs, or in printed copy, which is the printed copy is 3,000 francs only. Guys, the knowledge you gain from here and the success you gain from here cannot be compared to the amount. Knowledge is wealth. And I equally want to call out to the teachers who are watching this video. At times I know teachers have issues and challenges in some practical aspects. Of course, nobody knows everything. I myself teaching here, I may not know everything. So if you're a teacher and you have issues and you have challenges, maybe you are a principal, maybe showing this video to your ICT students and they have issues, you have challenges, you can always call me. My contact is found on this flyer. You can always call me, or if you visit the website of this book, if you visit the website, my contact is there. This is my contact. You can always call me to place orders or to call me to come assist in practicals, be it programming, Pascal, database, and so on and so forth. And so thank you for watching this video. Share massively. It might help someone, save someone from F grade. ICT is very important in our days. Technology is having ICT in your sleep with an A grade or with a good grade is a plus to your career. You might not actually understand this now, but ask those in the job market. Ask your parents who schooled without technology. They see the need now, and that is why some are insisting that you do ICT. Thank you for watching and study hard.